For the guys over at Kings of the Roundtable. They had an excellent interview with Wildcat Chris Harris that we're going to go ahead and jump into. So, TNA wrestler has just returned, I believe, that night actually, as they were speaking to him. So, without further ado, here is the interview from the Kings of the Roundtable as professional wrestler Wildcat Chris Harris joined the Kings at the Roundtable here on RGTR Red Bull Talk Radio and Red Bull Network on YouTube.
More we could do, or Storm's on a roll right now, so he could just be going on his own. So there's really no definitive answer right now. We're just kind of waiting to see. But Storm and I have talked about it, and we'd love to keep something going.
Needless to say, this isn't the same Impact that you came back to, even in, was it 2009, 2010? What was the environment like in Impact now versus the one you were familiarized with?
Well, that's actually one of the things that I enjoyed so much about being back this last time is that there was a lot of familiar faces. Some guys are new to Impact, but I've known them for years. But it was a great environment, man. I mean, you got a lot of the veterans that are pulling for the company, and then got some young, very talented guys coming up that can be the foundation of the company, just like we once was back in the day.
I actually want to take it back one step before that. You actually were in WCW towards the tail end. How did that come about?
Yeah, I was there the last year they were in business, all of 2000. And then I was doing matches, but being paid per date. And then I signed a contract in October, and then it was like 6 months later that they were out of business. So, but no, I was working a lot in Nashville, around that area, and for Burt Prentice. That's where I met Storm, actually, down in Nashville. And he had a connection to Terry Taylor in WCW, and they started sending us in for some security deal. We were doing a lot of security spots on Nitro and Thunder, but we were also getting our matches on, I don't know if you remember the Saturday night program, and then Sunday they had Worldwide. So we were getting a lot of matches, as well as doing the security stunts on the main program. So yeah, they kept bringing us in, and they were kind of shuffling through some guys, but they were impressed with my work, and so I was one of the few that got the contract.
Man, you brought up Saturday Night and Worldwide. That brings back so many memories from back in the NWA days. The smaller crowds. It was just the feel, the atmosphere of watching it. That's the kind of stuff I'm still yearning for. Like, I watch NWA, Impact. I mean, granted, with the COVID and everything like that, that seems to have that feel as well. So when they brought you in, you were part of, don't tell me, B&R Security?
R&B.
R&B, that's right. What was it like working so close with Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff?
I developed a friendship with Vince much later in the TNA days. So they didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to us, especially that last year. I think so many people saw the writing on the wall, so everybody was just kind of shuffling around, trying to find out where the company was going. But yeah, Russo had just recently been brought in, and Bischoff was in and out. So I didn't have much of a personal relationship with either one of them. Like I said, I was just one of the group of security guys for them, because they mainly concentrated on the Nitro and Thunder and the Saturday night and Sunday night programs. That was run a lot by Jimmy Hart. I think Mike Tenay had a little bit to do with it. So I got tight with Jimmy, Mike Tenay, Scott Hudson, those guys during my time there.
So were you at the last Nitro, the one where Shane was there?
No. I'm not sure when my last show was, but it was pretty much the year of 2000. And then by January, I think they had already started to cut costs where they could, because they were losing so much. So, bringing in a handful of guys for security just wasn't part of the budget. So I was gone by January, and I think, what was it, April, they were out of business.
Was it?
HT, I don't mean to cut you off
Go
here.
for it.
We just got some breaking news here. We just pulled a Rick Rude.
We did?
Because as we speak, while Mr. Harris is talking so diligently about his great career, apparently he's on Impact TV as we speak.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm having
apparently
I think I'm having a few.
having some beer. You are the great Houdini. You are the new modern day ravishing Rick Rude, my friend.
Yeah, how about that? You guys didn't expect that, did you?
No, you're full of tricks.
Wow.
Continue on, HD.
Oh, see, now I lost my train of thought because now I'm looking for my remote that my son decided to hide. Thanks, Dylan.
Well, he's trying to regain his train of thought. This might take him all night.
Oh, gee, thanks. You're all heart.
You mentioned Vince Russo, and he's one of those type of gentlemen that there's not much middle ground with him, Chris. It's a love-hate relationship. People either think he's a genius or they think he's insane. What were your dealings with Mr. Russo like, and what made him so special as a promoter, so special as a booker, so special as a writer?
Well, there's no doubt Vince is a very creative guy. I mean, that's what he and the positions that he was in for all the companies, that's why he got hired, was because he's a very creative guy. Problem is, when you're that creative, not all your ideas are going to stick. So, in WWE, he always had, he had Vince McMahon to overrule certain ideas. So maybe that's why a lot of them, didn't make it to TV. And that's, you had the Attitude Era. WCW, he kind of had free reign. And so, there was good and bad ideas on TV. TNA, he was working with a few other guys. But I got tight with him. I mean, once he saw what Storm and I could do, he started writing some good TV for us. And, I've had my disagreements with him. I mean, I don't agree with everything that that he did, and maybe not always the way he handled business, but I still consider him a friend to this day. I'd love to be able to catch up with him sometime, but he's very creative. I don't know if I'd call him a creative genius, but he still has that creative mind. And so all in all, I'd have to say my dealings with him were pretty good.
I mean, let's be honest here. Vince does get a lot of flack for the matches on the pole, which everything that could be hung on a pole probably was. But at the flip side of that, especially in TNA, he gave guys like you and James Storm and AJ Styles, who, by the way, is going to be wrestling this Saturday, Sunday at WrestleMania. He gave you guys big time pushes. So you got to take the good with the bad, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Vince is he was always looking for the young upcoming talent. So while you still need some star power, he was always looking for something, like Storm, myself, AJ, a lot of the other guys that were on there. He was always looking for storylines for us because he wanted to create new stars. And I thank him for that. I mean, he was there when we were getting our break, and even during my singles run there with Jeff Jarrett and a few other guys, he was writing all that. So he was a big supporter of mine.
So was it your relation with Vince Russo, or was it with Jeff Jarrett from the WCW days that actually brought you into TNA?
To get me there, it was Jeff. I'd gotten close with Jeff in WCW. And then fast forward a year or so, when everything was coming together with TNA, he was there for one of our Storm and I against each other for one of our tryout matches. And from right then on, he said he'd be in touch, and he wanted both of us part of the company. So Jeff was a big supporter in getting us signed. Bob Ryder was a big supporter in getting us signed. And then days later, when Vince was brought on, he was doing a lot of the creative along with Jeff, along with Dutch Mantel. So they were all kind of working together to help create a lot of the storylines.
Wow. So I got to ask, this is just your opinion, take it for what it's worth. You and James Storm are considered, and I'm not blowing smoke here, one of the best tag teams of the 2000s, bar none. What, in your opinion, what do you think made you guys resonate so much with the fans that to this day, you guys are still held in such high regard, no matter what company, as far as being one of the best tag teams out there?
Well, first off, thank you for that. I appreciate it. It means a lot, especially all these years later. At the time, and we're talking 02 and, our biggest years, 03, 04, 05, it's hard to look back on those days as far as the business in general. But, ECW was done, WCW was done. So the only thing out there besides WWE was TNA. As far as getting mainstream. But if you look back on the tag teams of those days, WWE was just taking two singles guys and putting them together and putting them on TV. And, there was a lot of guys like that had title runs, and I just feel like the art of tag teams it was a lost art for that time. And when Storm and I got put together, of course, we had our sights set on singles runs, but, that wasn't going to happen. So we got the opportunity of them putting us together. And Storm and I looked at it like, okay, if this is our opportunity, if this is what they're going to do, then we're going to be the best tag team out there. And Storm and I just kind of viewed back to what we had learned in our earlier years of tag team wrestling, and I'm talking about guys, like the Rock and Roll Express, the Horsemen, the Midnight Express, the Hart Foundation, the Bulldogs, all these great tag teams of the 80s and early 90s. But we were told we were going to be a tag team. We just kind of applied what we had learned, not only from our training, but from the matches we had watched. And we went back and watched a lot of these matches. So I think people looked at us as a real wholesome tag team, where on the other program, you were just seeing a couple singles guys being thrown together and, 6 months, or I'm being gracious by saying that, 3-4 months down the road, they're feuding with each other. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And so people really got on board with us as a tag team and what we could do. And especially those years, 02, 03, 04, 05, it just really, it really got a lot of good attention. And I'm really proud of that.
Hey, we got about a minute till we go to a break, but I just want to tell you, and I want to talk more about this next segment, but thank you, my friend, because everybody on this show grew up watching wrestling in the 80s, where you saw the Horsemen with Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. You saw the British Bulldogs, just Demolition, the Legion of Doom. You guys made tag team wrestling legitimate. You made it cool again. And it wasn't about what we saw before and what we're seeing now, where, as you said, it's a makeshift tag team where they feud, then they're tag teams for a couple of weeks, and then they're feuding again. You guys brought tag team wrestling back to the map. And as an old school fan, I appreciate it, and I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I kind of look at it like that too. So thank you for looking at it that way. And, but I really appreciate it, man. That's what we set out to do.
Hey, we got plenty more where this came from, ladies and gentlemen. We do got to take our first break. When we come back,
well, like JP said, we're going to take our first break here as well. You're listening to the best of the Kings of the Roundtable. So while we go ahead and take our first break, we're going to be right back after the break with the Kings of the Roundtable interviewing former offensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints, Derrick Kennard. So again, when we come back on the best of the Kings of the Roundtable, that's what you have in store. We'll be back after the break.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support Ph.D. and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
Two great shows have been announced for the Arizona Wrestling Federation in May. May 8th, AWF Nova, and May 29th, the Wildcat Rumble is back. Both in Phoenix, Arizona. Get your tickets at ArizonaWrestlingFederation.com.
Hey guys, it's Big HD, the Hardcore Degenerate, inviting you to check out Kings of the Roundtable every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on RGTR Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Art Dog here with your homeboy MJ Gunner.
What's going on, everybody?
And we want you to join us every Tuesday live for the Sons of Legends podcast at 10 p.m., where we talk about wrestling, sports, entertainment, and everything else. It's a show for the fans, by the fans.
That's right, Art. You know how it gets whenever we get in to talk about our wrestling. It gets completely insane.
And every Tuesday, we'll be all the way live, 10 p.m. Join us for the Sons of Legends podcast on RGTR.
Hey, folks. I'm Bradley C. Baker.
And I'm Jim Caterly.
And we're from Broken Link Radio. We'd like to ask you to take a second of your day to join our Patreon at brokenlinkradio1word.com. You see, due to Jim's excessive shoe habit
and Burhead's compulsive habit of buying used books,
we need a little help keeping up with our operational fees. With packages starting as low as $3.99 a month, you can become the ultimate scumbag and help keep food on our tables during these trying times.
Dude, what's this? We're not starving.
I know, Jim, but listen, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's like you're making us into a Sarah McLachlan commercial or something.
I know. I'm just reading what was written, Jim.
Why don't we just tell them if they like what they hear to support the show?
Yeah, well, I think we're out of time now, and
A pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since 1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC insured bank.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support Ph.D. and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio.
All right, folks, we are back, and you are listening to Kings of the Roundtable. This is the best of the Kings of the Roundtable. JP, Ph.D, and Jordan have the week off. They're taking care of some stuff that they got to take care of to get everything in tip-top shape for next week. So we're running through some of the best of the Kings of the Roundtable. Next up, we have a original air date of April the 15th. The former guard/center for the NFL, Dallas Cowboys, and New Orleans Saints, also with the St. Louis/Phoenix Cardinals, took a seat at the roundtable to discuss his pro football career with JPHD and Jordan. Derrick Kennard sits down at the roundtable. Let's take in a listen.
He also, for those of you asking me how his trip to Cancun was with the 7 hottest women on God's green earth with his victory celebration, it's none of your damn business. I'm not telling you. You don't need to know. Hey, one thing you do need to know is today is our special NFL mock draft episode. Mr. Jordan Cruz, Joe Violet, and myself will be making our picks that are certain to be hit right on the mark, as they always do. We'll be doing that in a little bit, but it's not wasting any further time, though. We do have a special guest joining us at this time, a gentleman who knows a little something or two about drafts, as he was a draft pick himself and played quite a few years in the National Football League. Actually got the block for some pretty well-known quarterbacks, most notably Steve Young and Troy Aikman. Won a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys, a gentleman I got to know quite well in my radio time with NBC Sports Radio here in Phoenix. Mutual friend of ours, late great Ryan Jimmo, and he's joining us to talk some NFL as well. He is Super Bowl winning guard Derrick Kennard. Derrick, hey, good talking to you again, my friend. Thank you for taking time out to join us today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, man. I want to hear about this Cabo Wobble thing he had going on over there. Since it's restricted from you guys' ears, I want to hear about it. Let's go.
All right. Well, since Derrick's our special guest, Jordan, how much hell did you raise in Cabo San Lucas and Cancun? Since it's Derrick, and since he blocked for he did play for your beloved New Orleans Saints. They are your team, so I guess we owe him that much, right? How much hell did you raise in Cancun?
That's right. I raised about as much hell as you would expect from a young, strapping 23-year-old athlete like myself.
He raised enough hell for the both of us, for a 42-year-old man and a 42-year-old man yourself. We're both 42, right, Derrick? He raised enough hell for the both of us, right?
Oh man, no, I'm a little older than that, man. You should know that already.
I know that quite well, but I was trying to pay you a little bit. of homage there, a little bit of youth, because you certainly youthful exuberance, young man. I mean, I've been around you enough times. You're a youthful man and who's had many decades of experience on us all.
Yeah, man, you guys sound like you had a lot of fun down there in Viva la Mexico.
Oh,
I think we'll hear in about 9 months just how much fun he had.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to be careful. This guy has commitments, and if we talk about little Jordans running around, I'm going to claim I know nothing about the sorts, man.
The question is, how many people in 9 months?
Oh.
Gee, Willikers, Batman, you're knocking them down, huh?
According to everybody here, I am. That's for sure.
Oh, I don't know. Speaking of knocking them down, you knocked a few down in your career, and I'm not talking about women. Although you did manage to produce quite the stellar athlete yourself, and a young man who's now a starting linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals. So I mean, you guys are used to knocking men down that have uniforms on. I mean, it's talk a little bit about your career. Started in the USFL. I mean, what was that experience like? I know that's a league that a lot of people that are newer fans forgot about, but for us next generation folks, that was almost the outlaw league, the one league that really made the NFL sweat a little bit.
Yeah, I was in the USFL. I was blocking Reggie White quite a bit because he was with the Memphis Showboats, and it seems like he was just following me everywhere I freaking went, man. I was wondering, am I ever going to shake this guy? And then, of course, I blocked for Steve Young. I had Gary Zimmerman from the Denver Broncos, was for a long time. Denver Broncos was there with us and drafted in my class. And Mark Addix, who is now a surgeon for orthopedics in the Dallas, Houston area. He's NFL just utilized him for all the major surgeries that need to be get done, especially in the Texas area. But we had just a ton of guys just come out of that USFL that we had a good time playing some good ball up there, man. And made quite a bit of money too, to say the least.
Were you disappointed to see that league come to an end? I mean, were you surprised as a player? Because I know there had been certain stories that it sort of came out of the blue, and there were certain stories that, you all saw it coming. I mean, from your perspective, was it a shock?
Yeah, well, no, it was rumblings. It was rumblings that we were outpacing the NFL in salaries, and we are the cause of the salaries going up. And yeah, it was a big difference maker for us USFL guys that set the stage for what's happening today with the athletes making all this money. And it's awesome that we were the pioneers that got this thing started, big fella.
Yeah, and following that, I mean, I think a lot of these guys sort of owe you a little bit of a debt of gratitude and a few extra bucks on the side, because you look at the money they're making now, man. I mean, it's nothing quite like what you guys were making back in the day.
Yeah, we set the stage, but these guys are really kicking it out the ballpark now. Well, we had a baseball player make over $50-something million this offseason, just signed a $364 million deal. Jesus, man, is he part owner of the team yet?
Well, you got one that used to play that just retired a couple of years ago that now just bought a basketball team. Does that count?
Well, you speaking of Fitzgerald, he's part of minority owner of the Phoenix Suns, and yeah. I hope he's able to come back this season.
I hope so. Joe, you said you had a question for him, correct?
Yeah. Of all you've played with a lot of players in your time, you've seen them all come and go. My question is there any one player or any specific players who you just hated to guard against? Like guys who you just line up against, you're like, oh boy, I'm in for a rough day.
I spoke of him on the outset at the beginning of the segment. He is no other than the preacher man, Reggie White. He is the guy that kept me up at nights, and the guy is just he just totally torments offensive linemen all over the NFL. But guess what? I'm not on his highlight reel when he inducted him into the Hall of Fame, and there's a reason for that. We had some dog fights, and it wasn't pretty.
I'm going to tell you, man, some of the Eagles teams in the 90s too. I mean, you had Reggie White, you had the late Jerome Brown. I mean, there were some nasty pass rushers. I mean, Lawrence Taylor, you had to face, I'm sure, a few times in your time. That wasn't an easy night in the office by any means. You certainly earned your money's worth, young man.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was some. We had some tough battles out there with myself, Louis Sharp out there with Jerome Brown and Jerome on the inside, and Reggie out there. Oh my God, what a matchup!
And then even before you went to Dallas, I mean, after you left the USFL, you signed with the then St. Louis Cardinals, who a lot of people forget. They look at them in the West. Now they actually played in the NFC East. So you can see one of the more underrated ones in Randy White in his own right. A lot of people don't talk about him for being a pass rushing genius. That guy was another one who was pretty nasty to play against on a weekly basis, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. They, we was in the toughest division in the entire NFL back then, and the beast, we call it the beast of the East. And you got LT in New York, and you had Reggie and Philly. Come on.
Yeah, I just heard it's funny because it's like Reggie for as nice of a guy off the field. I heard he was twice as mean on it. But I got to ask you, who was meaner on the field, Reggie White or LT? Because I've heard horror stories about both.
Well, both of them were straight killers, but Reggie would just do some ruthless stuff that would just just embarrassed some of these offensive linemen, and we call it the forklift. That was embarrassed to be to toss a grown man like a rag doll like that. That's pretty embarrassing.
You know, I always pictured Reggie White as the type of guy that would throw you on your rear end and then help you up and say God bless you and pat you on the back and wish you a good day afterwards. I mean, it's just like battling a bipolar roller coaster. It's like our good friend Ryan Jimmo, God rest his soul. He was like one of those guys who would kick your ass and then say, "Hey, I love you. Have a great day." You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, he would tell you God bless you, but he would step all over and high five all over you after he done his business. But I didn't have many of those embarrassing moments, so I'm all good with that.
you weren't on too many highlight reels. That's one thing I got to mention, man. You were not on many highlight reels, and you very easily could have been with the killers you were up against.
Yeah. I got a different mentality. I like to deliver the blows. I don't like to receive them. Hello.
So gotta ask you, your son's a heck of a pass rusher. I mean, I can imagine. Look, after having to deal with Pops as a kid, look, these offensive linemen in the NFL nowadays, they're a cup of tea compared to what I got to get past Pops first shoot. Forget about Riley Rife and any of these guys. They're a couple of J-Brons compared to what I had to go through as a kid with my dad.
Yeah, well, this kid is a straight brainiac, man. I got to outsmart him. He's he tried to set you up with the footwork and the hands, and I would have to dance with him. So we've had a dance or two before, so it's 50-50. Well, what happens is you forget I have credentials out there on that island at left tackle as an All-American left tackle at University of Nevada.
Right.
Yeah, but he was at SC.
Well, so he's been at SC, and then he's got SC, the Lions, and now the Cardinals. That's a murderer's row for him, right?
No, he was with the New York Giants at first.
Oh, the Giants. That's right. He's the Giants, and he went with the Lions, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was with the Big Blue, as they call it back east. You covering from the east to the west on your beginning promo. I hear you all the way from coast to coast, huh?
Oh yeah, Archie. We're a radio show. We're based out of Phoenix, but we got actually one host is in San Diego, one is in Kentucky. I mean, we are across the country, my friend. So your voice is being heard. Anybody that can click on the link and listen to us worldwide. So we're somewhat notorious, but that's only because of Jordan's hijinks in Mexico, right, Jordan?
Guess so.
See, he was excited to hear about this interview because I mentioned you played for the Saints, and his eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas Day because he's a long-suffering Saints fan, and he remembers you, Jordan. You remember? I mean, you grew up the Saints fan in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a little bit. I mean, this is where I'm gonna sound young. I mean, I was still a kid then, but absolutely.
Yeah, I had that defense down in New Orleans. That was the Thunderdome with Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, Ricky Jackson, and Sweet Swillings. We had a defense that was lights out over there, and those linebacking crews I just mentioned to you, each and every one of them were in the 500-pound club in the bench in the weight room. So yeah, and I was in the 500-pound club as well. Myself and Ironhead Hayward was in my group, and a few others, but every one of those dudes was in that. They were in the 5.5+ club. I wasn't fortunate enough to get in that club, but I was extremely close.
Oh, when you're in with those animals, I mean, I remember videos of Sam Mills and watching Sam Mills as a kid. There's another player that never gets the recognition he quite deserves. I mean, I just remember I was watching a game between them and Atlanta, and you remember Chris Miller, right, the quarterback for the Falcons?
Yeah,
I remember he hit Chris Miller so damn hard Derrick and he knocked his helmet off. And I remember Miller getting up looking like he didn't know what planet he was on. I was just like, it's a scary dude. And I'm from Pittsburgh originally, so I know Ironhead Hayward, and that guy was another one. I mean, he knocked 3-4 defensive linemen down to get 3 yards. I mean, he was a frightening dude in his own right. God rest his soul.
Well, we had, we got 2 of those gentlemen that was in that linebacker room are deceased now and no longer with us. But those dudes used to hit harder at practice than they did in games. So I have a firsthand account to that effect. That's why my nose is a little crooked.
Yeah, but if you think his nose is crooked, guys, you can't wait till you see the other guys. But you actually bring up a point too. You look at some of the players that you've either played with or against that are sadly no longer with us. What have you done in your own right to keep yourself healthy and to keep yourself, ticking and keep yourself above ground so you and I can raise hell on the radio like we have tonight?
Well, I exercise. I go out to the gym 6 days a week, and then if I'm not at the gym, I'm on the golf course, and I'm out there stroking it, big fella. You want some? Come get some.
Hey,
your money spins well too.
Hey, I'm down. You tell me what gym you're at. We'll throw it back here. Jordan, you're coming to town this weekend, right?
No. I'm talking about taking his money on the golf course. I need them dollars, big fella. Come on.
You wouldn't get much money out of me, buddy, because I stink at golf. Unless you're talking miniature golf, and it's on like Donkey Kong, my friend. Hey, you want to come back?
You only can lose. You can only lose $1 a hole, man. Come on. $18. Come on.
Oh, that's $18. All right. Well, after the first 2 holes, I'd be $2 in, and they tell me to get the hell out. Hey, you good to stick around for another segment? I know you said 15, but you got another one in? You got another one in?
Yeah, I stick around.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Derrick Kennard, former Garden Center for the NFL's Dallas Cowboys, New Orleans Saints, and St. Louis/Phoenix Cardinals. Yes, before they were the Arizona Cardinals, they were the St. Louis/Phoenix Cardinals. Derrick Kennard joining the Kings of the Roundtable on the Roundtable. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have St. Louis Cardinals and St. Louis Blues beat writer Benjamin Hochman, the Richmond Webb on the draft day episode that the Kings did. Richmond Webb will sit down on the Roundtable, and immediately after we come back, we have the Dr. Robert Trumpbour interview up and ready to go. So, best-selling author as well as professor at Penn State, Dr. Robert Trumpbour talks about baseball and other things, and college sports, amongst others. And when we come back here on the best of the Kings of the Roundtable, we'll be right back on RGCR, Red Gold Talk Radio, and Red Gold Network on YouTube.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support Ph.D. and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
2 great shows have been announced for the Arizona Wrestling Federation in May. May 8th, AWF Nova, and May 29th, the Wildcat Rumble is back. Both in Phoenix, Arizona. Get your tickets at ArizonaWrestlingFederation.com.
Hey guys, it's Big H.D., the Hardcore Degenerate, inviting you to check out Kings of the Roundtable every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on RGTR Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Art Dog here with your homeboy MJ Gunner.
What's going on, everybody?
And we want you to join us every Tuesday live for the Sons of Legends podcast at 10 p.m. where we talk about wrestling, sports, entertainment, and everything else. It's a show for the fans, by the fans.
That's right, Art. You know how it gets whenever we get in to talk about our wrestling. It gets completely insane.
And every Tuesday, we'll be all the way live, 10 p.m. Join us for the Sons of Legends podcast on RGTR.
Hey folks, I'm Bradley C. Baker.
And I'm Jim Caterly.
And we're from Broken Link Radio. We'd like to ask you to take a second of your day to join our Patreon at brokenlinkradio1word.com. You see, due to Jim's excessive shoe habit
and Burhead's compulsive habit of buying used books,
we need a little help keeping up with our operational fees. With packages starting as low as $3.99 a month, you can become the ultimate scumbag and help keep food on our tables during these trying times.
Dude, what's this? We're not starving.
I know, Jim, but listen, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's like you're making us into a Sarah McLachlan commercial or something.
I know. I'm just reading what was written, Jim.
Why don't we just tell them if they like what they hear to support the show?
Yeah, well, I think we're out of time now, and the studio only paid for one take, so whatever. Catch new episodes every Monday and help support the show on our Patreon at brokenlinkradio1word.com, patreon.com/brokenlinkradio.
Do it! I still hate that URL.
Broken Link Radio.
We're living in unprecedented time. At a time of a pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since 1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC-insured bank.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support Ph.D. and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on Kings of the Roundtable. If you didn't know already, Ph.D. and Jordan have the night off, and we are going through the best of the Kings of the Roundtable. So far, you've heard professional wrestler Wildcat Chris Harris, as well as former offensive lineman in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys, Saints, and Cardinals, Derrick Kennard. And now, we're going to take a listen to one of JP's early influences and professors at Penn State. We're going to listen to, he's also a best-selling author, by the way. We're going to listen to Dr. Robert Trumpbour as he sits down to join the Kings of the Roundtable here on RGTR.
I've named 4 people as my mentors, people that are solely responsible for where I am today. One of them, the late, great Armin Gilliam. Pardon me? Good. What did you say, brother?
I don't think anybody was talking.
You're not going to leave me hanging? Well, hey, let's make it happen, brother.
Right.
Oh man, this guy here, if I want are solely responsible for why I'm here today. One of them, the late, great Armin Gilliam. For those of you NBA fans, you remember he was the second overall pick by the Phoenix Suns in the 1987 NBA draft. He's one that was taken from us far too soon, but he had a big role. Dr. Doug and Mary Lou Nemenick also had a big role. But this gentleman, though, man, this guy here, if I could say enough good things about him, I'd run out of time. I'd need probably 15 Brad Gold shows to talk about what a good dude this is and what an influence he's had on my career. Our next guest at this time, a best-selling author, a man who is one of the top names in the sabermetrics community, a professor extraordinaire at Penn State University. Some say he's Kevin Costner's twin brother. And I know, folks, he never did serve. He was never his stunt double in any of those movies, although I swear once upon a time he was. My pleasure and honor to introduce my good friend, Dr. Robert Trumpbour. Dr. Trumpbour, a pleasure, my friend.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Now, first and foremost, I just want to say, man, this guy, like I said, everything I said before, I owe you everything, man. I really do. And I'm going to say this on public radio, like I said in private. You are one of the big reasons why I'm here today.
No, but you've worked for it. You know, I gave you some points, you know, some pointers and some advice. Quite frankly, you ran with it, and that's what you got to do.
Hey, if I didn't, it would have been wasted energy by you guys. And I promised you I wasn't going to waste any of the opportunities y'all gave me. So, you know, I mean, this guy here, actually, should we share the story about the time you got me to try out on the ESPN show?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I want to turn it into a giant butt kissing session to myself because I do that enough here every week as it is. But back in the day, there was this TV show called Dream Job on ESPN. It was a reality show where you could have won a 2-year contract to be an anchor on ESPN Sports Center. And I was going out to Los Angeles anyway to be part of a broadcasting camp, which was, talk about a once in a lifetime opportunity. I actually got to call games for the Los Angeles Clippers NBA Summer League team, got to call a baseball game. Actually, that was a year, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Trumpbour, that the Red Sox finally won the World Series and broke curse. I actually got to call the third inning of that Angels-Red Sox game. I mean, this was a gem. And then, old Dr. Trumpbour here says, well, Dream Job's going to be out there. Why don't you go and try out? So him and I sat on the phone for an hour and just went over tips and pointers. And I'll be son of a bitch if I didn't go out there and knock it dead. I mean, I came close. I was one of the final two in Los Angeles. I said I was one of the final two. The guy that actually wound up winning Los Angeles was one of the 3 finalists on the show itself. So I guess that was in pretty elite company, right?
Sure. And you know what? Again, you prepped for it. You were ready for it. And quite frankly, you know, it could have gone your way, you know, and the competition's stiff when you get to the upper levels. You know, it always is.
Hey, I don't mind being second. I don't mind being second, third in that competition. I mean, there were some really good people. And I think the guy that won at winning Los Angeles, Grant Holmes, I believe he works at Fox as an announcer now. So, I mean, he's wound up going on to some pretty good things. So I lost to somebody that was pretty damn good. You know, I can't really complain too much. But
sure.
And I know my tag team partner, my good brother Jordan here, has been biting at the hips to ask you a couple questions here. So, Jordan, I'm going to kick it over to you. Feel free to throw some pointers at Dr. Trumpbour.
Awesome. Hello, Mr. Trumpbour. I just had 2 questions, actually. The first one, I'm going to start by prefacing by saying that I'm, and take no offense to my counterparts, but I'm a little bit of a younger age group than them. So maybe I have a different perspective on baseball and with regards to its viewership. So I am self-admittedly more of a casual fan. I like to tune in to games every now and again, tune in for the playoffs, and then I like to go to the occasional game and listen to the Padres on local radio. However, myself and my friend group are very heavily into the video game, the MLB The Show franchise. It does very well. In fact, there's a very large percentage of the population of that audience that believe that it is the best sports video game. So I'm wondering there's obviously a market for baseball because so many people are into it when it comes to that, but the viewership is declining year after year. And I was wanting to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, I think part of it is if you sit down to watch an entire baseball game, you know, there are going to be moments that are very slow paced. that quite frankly are not the most exciting. And honestly, the video games are structured in a way to avoid those moments where you might get bored. So I can see why a younger demographic gravitates to the video games. And, part of the reason for the declines in baseball is, quite frankly, baseball's demographic is older. I mean, the average baseball fan is in their, late 50s, early 60s. That's got to worry the heck out of baseball, baseball executives. I mean, you think about it, they're not, baseball's got to worry about the fact that trying to get younger folks to not just play in little league, but to come to the ballpark and to want to do things. I think baseball really is going to have to address those issues in a more profound way. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go with it, but some of the things that they've talked about doing, I'm not sure how they're going to work out. Extra innings, putting a person on second, and some of those things to sort of speed the process up and make sure games don't last more than 4 hours. That might help the younger demographic. It turns the older purists off, but at the same time, honestly, if the younger demographic doesn't gravitate to baseball in a more profound way, baseball is going to have some problems.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very insightful. My second question is more to do with the game itself. Now, this past off season, Major League Baseball decided to alter the ball for the upcoming season, reducing its weight by about 1/10 of an ounce. Now, I mean, it seems like such a very small change, but we've seen in the past small changes to the ball can result in big changes to the overall game. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know where that's going to go. It's really hard because I have a feeling that's going to be one of these unintended consequences type thing. Will it create? I mean, it seems like the hierarchy of baseball wants to juice up offense. So, maybe the lighter ball travels further, but I don't know. It's very hard to say. I think, small incremental changes sometimes can make a big difference. Just shifting sports a little bit, thinking about football, when they started gravitating to a West Coast offense and you had Bill Walsh and, a bunch of other folks sort of, changing it to a more passing oriented game, a less, 3 or 4, yards in a cloud of dust. That changed the nature of football in dramatic ways, even though at the time people didn't think it would. I mean, you can't imagine. I mean, you think about Drew Brees, just retired, has the most passing yards of anyone. And Brady's not that far behind. He's probably going to, move ahead. If he has a pretty good season next year, he'll probably pass him, but it's hard to know. But I just think, when you tweak the game in little minute ways, no one knows exactly where it's going to go. But I suspect that that the folks who made these decisions probably think it's going to be maybe a more lively ball and more home runs. And there's this built-in assumption that fans want to see offense. I'm not so sure that that's the best way to, attracting fans. I know when I was a youngster, I mean, I grew up a Mets fan, just watching the New York Mets. And, quite frankly, in the late 60s, they had, and in the early 70s, they had great pitching. And, quite frankly, they won a lot of, 2-1, 1-0, 2-0 games. And I enjoyed it. I'd sit in the stands at Chase Stadium and I thought it was fun. But at the same time, there are some people, if the ball's not traveling far, they're not excited about baseball.
So here's the question I want to pose to you then. And you mentioned the baseball traveling far.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the 1990s a little bit. And we all can admit on here, and Jordan, I'm going to show my age here, but that home run chase and putting all the extracurriculars aside, the steroids, the nonsense that's gone down since then, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire saved baseball and brought it back from that horrible strike in 1994. The question I want to pose here is those guys were larger than life. Ken Griffey Jr., larger than life figure, right? I mean, we all grew up, every kid in the 1990s wanted to be Griffey. You had players like Cal Ripken Jr. These players almost seem bigger than the game itself. I'm not saying there aren't some now that don't have that potential. I mean, I thought from day one, Bryce Harper had been promoted as the next big thing since he was a junior in high school in Las Vegas. But it does not seem like there is that bigger than the game figure that sport has always had. And let's go back. I mean, even Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Joe DiMaggio. There's always been that larger than life character in baseball that seemed bigger than the game itself, that seemed transcendent. Do you think that the lack of that transcendent star is hurting the game now by chance?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, I think every generation has their heroes, and there's always a tendency to look back at the previous generation. I know, like you rattled off Sosa, McGwire, Ripken, Griffey, you know, and certainly legends. But at the same time, you go back an earlier generation, you got Mays, you've got Clemente, you just think of some of the legends of that era. And they were pretty impressive too. So I think part of the problem is some of the folks who probably would be the breakout stars, quite frankly, aren't the most scintillating personalities. And in a 24-hour news cycle, I'm not sure that like Clemente or Mays or, some of the other legends of an earlier era would have been able to sort of, bask in the limelight, and be as legendary as they are now. I just think of Mike Trout as an example. Hell of a player, but at the same time is not interested in being, a personality. Just wants to craft his game and be as good as he can be. And I think when you've got the sports cycle the way it is now, with everyone wanting to know every little thing about every single star, it puts a lot of pressure on people to either jump into the media pool or just focus on the game and let their performance speak for itself. And I think in some ways, the folks who decide, I'm not going to play the media game, I'm just going to work on my game, they kind of get painted as unexciting. And I think you watch them, they're actually pretty exciting on the field. They just don't care to be exciting in front of a media audience.
Well, I mean, Trout's a good example of that. I mean, and I'll go point blank and say if Trout played 50 miles up the road, I think his stock would be a hell of a lot higher than it is. I mean, if he played in Chavez Ravine rather than Anaheim, maybe we're talking about him a little bit different. But in terms of talent, Mike Trout is as talented of a baseball player other than Barry Bonds that I've ever seen. I mean, that guy
really is. And
everything.
Bonds was talented as hell, but at the same time, and from being in the, near Pittsburgh, Bonds had his issues. I just remember, quite frankly, I think, you look at the early 90s and the Braves were an up and coming team, but I don't think they were as talented. If you looked at the roster, and compared, those Pirates of the early 90s and the Braves as up and comers, I don't think they were as talented a team. But one of the problems was Bonds was kind of self-absorbed and, quite frankly, sort of gaslit some of his teammates in weird ways. And I think that hurt the dynamic and chemistry of the Pirates. I remember I was working freelance for CBS Radio during those early 90s years. And I just remember working the series. And I remember, staying in the hotel that the Braves were at. And they had an amazing chemistry among themselves, even though they were lesser known, they were younger, and they probably, they just didn't have the experience, but they were pretty cohesive. Whereas the Pirates, as much as they were a talented team, they kind of went their own way. And they just weren't as cohesive as the Braves. And boy, it was an interesting.
That was Dr. Robert Trumpbour joining the Kings of the Roundtable, H.D., JP, and Jordan, talking some baseball and really going into the weeds in a lot of matters. If you want to hear this or either of the either, that's what terminology is that. Either of the previous two interviews, Wildcat Chris Harris, Derrick, Kennard, or Dr. Robert Trumpbour, you can, of course, listen on our SoundCloud at redgold.net. There's a link there, and all of the archived episodes are up for your listening pleasures, as well as here on the Red Gold Network. You'll see in the coming future, those will also be uploaded to our YouTube recently, or not too in the far too distant future. So we'll be taking a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have St. Louis Cardinals and St. Louis Blues beat writer Benjamin Hochman joining, talking about his new book, 11 and 11, amongst other things from the St. Louis baseball, hockey, and sports world. You're listening to the Kings of the Roundtable here on RGTR Red Gold Talk Radio and the Red Gold Network on YouTube. We'll be right back.
You're listening to RGTR Red Gold Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support JP, H.D., and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red in a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
Two great shows have been announced for the Arizona Wrestling Federation in May. May 8th, AWF Nova, and May 29th, the Wildcat Rumble is back. Both in Phoenix, Arizona. Get your tickets at ArizonaWrestlingFederation.com.
Hey guys, it's Big HD, the Hardcore Degenerate, inviting you to check out Kings of the Roundtable every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on RGTR Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Art Dog here with your homeboy MJ Gunner.
What's going on, everybody?
And we want you to join us every Tuesday, Sons of Legends podcast at 10 p.m., where we talk about wrestling, sports, entertainment, and everything else. It's a show for the fans, by the fans.
That's right, Art. You know how it gets whenever we get in to talk about our wrestling. It gets completely insane.
And every Tuesday, we'll be all the way live, 10 p.m. Join us for the Sons of Legends podcast on RGTR.
Hey folks, I'm Bradley C. Baker.
And I'm Jim Caterly.
And we're from Broken Link Radio. We'd like to ask you to take a second of your day to join our Patreon at brokenlinkradio1word.com. You see, due to Jim's excessive shoe habit
and Burhead's compulsive habit of buying used books,
we need a little help keeping up with our operational fees. With packages starting as low as $3.99 a month, you can become the ultimate scumbag and help keep food on our tables during these trying times.
Dude, what's this? We're not starving.
I know, Jim, but listen, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's like you're making us into a Sarah McLachlan commercial or something.
I know. I'm just reading what was written, Jim.
Why don't we just tell them if they like what they hear to support the show?
Yeah, well, I think we're out of time now, and the studio only paid for one take, so whatever. Catch new episodes every Monday and help support the show on our Patreon at BrokenLinkRadio1word.com, patreon.com/BrokenLinkRadio.
Do it. I still hate that URL.
Broken Link Radio.
We're living in unprecedented time. At a time of a pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since 1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC insured bank.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Go Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support Ph.D. and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Go Talk Radio.
Hey guys, the microphone wasn't on at all for that. So now that we are on, you're listening to Kings of the Roundtable. This is the best of edition. Ph.D. and Jordan all have the week off. So without further ado, if you want to listen to, actually before we get into the next one, if you want to listen to any of the interviews that you've heard here today, you can listen to them at our SoundCloud. You can find the link at redgold.net or search RGTR in SoundCloud. And then you can listen to all the Red Gold Talk Radio shows and podcasts, such as Kings of the Roundtable, Sons of Legends, Broken Link Radio, Pro Wrestling AZ Weekly, or any of the other shows that we've showcased here. And you can shortly listen to the entire archive as it's uploaded here to the Red Gold Network on YouTube. So without further ado, here is St. Louis Cardinals and Blues beat writer Benjamin Hochman as he talks about his new book 1111, as well as the other bits of the St. Louis sports world.
24/7, you know, there's a guy in MMA that once called himself, I think he's actually from St. Louis too, Corey Anderson. He called himself 35-8. Like, I don't know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I guess there's an extra hour and an extra day. I wish there was, but I digress. Speaking of St. Louis, we're here. Of course, our special guest is quite the writer, quite the orator, quite the speaker as well, Mr. Benjamin Hochman, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, talking about his book that's coming up, 11 and 11, a story about the St. Louis Cardinals 2011 World Championship years. We're talking all things St. Louis sports. Jordan, I know, we had a great conversation earlier about the NFL, and St. Louis has sort of been without an NFL team since 2016, so I know we definitely wanted to steer that direction a little bit, right?
Right, absolutely. My first question for you is slightly multifaceted. It just being, from St. Louis, living in the area, you're around the people every single day. You're talking with them every single day. I wanted to get your perspective on the Rams leaving a few years ago. The still ongoing lawsuit, and it's continuously getting delayed. And any chance that a team returns one day, and also like do the people want a team to return?
Yeah, Jordan, those are great questions. I mean, right away, when it happened, it was so emotional, and we're talking about a franchise that won a Super Bowl, and we know how hard it is to win a championship in sports. And the Rams won a Super Bowl and returned to the Super Bowl a couple years after that, and then even though they had these passionate fans, they had to they remained passionate fans even though the team was terrible for so long. I mean, that decade of the first decade of the 2000s, the Rams, if fans recall, were just awful, but the St. Louis fans still cared. And then what happened? The owner, who's from Missouri, moves the team out of St. Louis to Los Angeles, a billionaire trying to make more billions. It was a painful turn of events and a punch to the stomach, kick to the what's, however you want to describe it. And it was really infuriating, but it was also a while ago. And I think year after year falls off the calendar. And I think St. Louisans are still super mad about it. Don't get me wrong, but they're not letting that anger kind of dictate them the way they did let the anger dictate them in 2015 and 16. And you mentioned the lawsuit. It's a way to kind of stick it to Stan Kroenke, and the people in St. Louis are trying to get some money back for the fans, but we'll see if that happens. But I think the NFL has kind of waved goodbye to St. Louis, unfortunately, and there's a great football heritage here, but now we're looking ahead, and as JP mentioned, we are a baseball town first and foremost. Since the Rams left, we had a Stanley Cup championship here, and one of the neatest developments is they're building a MLS stadium right there in downtown St. Louis to have an MLS team in 2023. And I think you talk about the future of professional sports in St. Louis. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be NFL. We're looking at MLS.
Yeah, well, regardless of football, still a great sports town with a lot of guys who come out from that area. One of them being Jason Tatum. I read the article you wrote of him a couple of days ago. I just wanted to go further into depth with that. If you can't deny his talent or what he brings to the table. He's been absolutely amazing. Just the team success this year, however, has been kind of seesaw, kind of back and forth. Yeah, they've had a win streak, on several games recently. But what's your opinion on him? The team's success and his ability to be the number one star for that team.
Yeah, we're super proud of Jason Tatum here in St. Louis. And I think the Celtics can make some noise in the playoffs right now. I know you look at that Eastern Conference standings and you're like, gosh, will they be the 4th seed, the 5th seed? What will they be? But the way they've been clicking, the way Marcus Smart has been stepping it up, and he's been playing great, obviously on the defensive end. He's always good there, but on the offensive end too, and Jaylen Brown, of course. But Jason Tatum, I mean, he battled COVID this year. And I think that's something that I think not you guys, but maybe the casual sports fan kind of overlooks is if a guy gets COVID and he's out, then he's out. But when he comes back, it's not like he's 100%. He's still recovering from this fatiguing disease, or however we describe COVID, and that's what happened to Jason Tatum. He was battling through some stuff, and the Celtics lost some games. So I'm fired up about him, and I love this kind of like fun little symmetry. This is mind blowing. So follow me on the story. There was a woman, right? And she's a high school volleyball player. Her name's Brandy Cole, and her coach is Besta Beal. Besta Beal has a son who goes to Chaminade High School in St. Louis named Bradley. Bradley Beal becomes the National Player of the Year from Gatorade, the number 3 pick in the NBA draft, and after 1 year of college. And his mom was a volleyball coach, and one of her players was Jason Tatum's mom, who has a son who goes to the same high school, Chaminade, becomes the National Player of the Year from Gatorade, one and done in college, number 3 pick in the NBA draft, and now he's an all-star as well.
Wow, that's a heck of a story to follow.
Absolutely. See, I'm glad you brought Bradley Beal up, because I was going to mention that, everybody talks about Tatum, but Beal seems to be one of those ones that slips through the crack of being another St. Louis. And I didn't know if there was any connection between the two, but you sort of tied 1 and 2 for me. But I'll throw another tie here for you. And this is a tie before any of us were born. Tatum plays for the Boston Celtics, right? And unfortunately, the city of St. Louis lost another team that won a championship. 1958, the St. Louis Hawks, now the Atlanta Hawks, won an NBA championship. You know who they beat to win it?
Right. They defeated the Boston Celtics.
Boston Celtics. Yep. So it's again, sports is the weird. Jordan, sports is so cyclical that way, and it's weird how everything lives in this parallel.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
But moving back to the NFL here, though, one rumor that has made some rounds with this lawsuit, and again, we're not trying to break any ground here or get anybody in any trouble. The one rumor that keeps making rounds here, though, is that another team is being offered as a compromise. And that team that keeps being thrown out there is Los Angeles' other team that they robbed from another city, Jordan, your town, the San Diego Chargers, which I'll always call them San Diego. I'm sorry. But that's been a rumor that the Chargers have been offered as a compromise to get rid of this lawsuit. I know you said that you don't think there will be an NFL team back in St. Louis anytime soon, but do you think the fans would embrace that opportunity if that was offered with some guarantees that, look, we're not going to pull this garbage again in 25 years like we saw with the Big Red or the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it was legit and they could prove and state that the Chargers were here to stay, of course, this great sports town would be all in. It would be a bunch of fun. And but I just don't know feasibly or realistically if they could pull that off. And man, now you got me all excited that we're getting the Chargers.
Well, I mean, it's like you proved, though. You said the city can support the team, and even when they were garbage. I mean, human nature. Let's be honest. Human nature. When a team stinks, people stop going. And believe me, if they think moving to Los Angeles was going to fix that problem, that's going to make it even worse, because people in St. Louis are far more loyal to their sports teams than people in LA. I mean, people in LA are going to go to the beach. They're going to go to Disneyland. They're going to go to Santa Monica. They're going to do 50 other things. And we're seeing it with the Chargers now, where they couldn't even sell out a 30,000 seat soccer stadium. You know what I mean? So right. I don't know what they thought moving the team to LA was going to do to fix the woes. But I think that's also part of the lawsuit, because St. Louis gave every fair effort and a good faith effort to build a new stadium. They had the funding put aside for it. They had, the land. They had a good faith effort, but it seemed like Stan Kroenke was really ready to stab his home state in the back.
Yeah, I mean, he looked at the financials in Los Angeles and the idea of building this mecca of a stadium that could be the kind of like the modern Coliseum, the stadium where he could have the Olympics and World Cup and of course NFL and Super Bowls, and he'll get it. It's happening. It's going to happen out there. But I don't know. Is he happy because of it? I don't know. Like, he's going to make a lot of money, but I just can't. I don't know. There's something to be said about being an owner of a sports team where your fans like love you and kind of like, I don't want to say worship you, but definitely like respect you and things, and you're kind of part of that community. And I don't think like the Rams fans in LA are like, oh, our guy Stan Kroenke. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little too sentimental or something, but I don't know. He could have had a really good thing here, and he left.
I mean, he could have. Look, I mean, it's funny because the woman that moved the Rams to St. Louis from LA to begin with, Georgia Frontier to Lake Georgia, I mean, she was revered in St. Louis for the remainder of her life. I mean, that woman's name still gets smiles on the faces in St. Louis, even though I'd say the 5 LA fans that gave a crap about the Rams, despise her. But I mean, the bottom line though is, I just think that, and I get why they wanted to put a team back in LA. I completely understand the logic behind it. I know that might tick some of the St. Louisans off, but it is media market number 2. A team in Hollywood in the backdrop is going to make a ton of money for the league. And I get that. I just wish it would not have been at St. Louis's expense, because you gave up a great fan base. You gave up 2 great fan bases. Let's be honest. San Diego was a phenomenal fan base too. I remember, back in 92, 93, or was it 94, excuse me, when they had the return from the Super Bowl where the Chargers got just mud stomped by San Francisco. They had 100,000 people at the welcome back parade for a team that got killed. I mean, you sacrificed two fan bases that were exceptionally loyal for the almighty dollar. And I just wish that wouldn't have been.
Yeah, it's super frustrating, and to this day, I mean, like me going, and suddenly I feel like it's 2016 all over again, and I'm getting mad, but the business of sports is business, and these are billionaires, and sometimes the reality is that 1 billion isn't enough, and the quest for another one will have you stab your home state in the back.
It's. I don't believe in the motto, you can't go home again. I think that's hogwash. But in the case of Stan Kroenke, he can't go back home again. How can you go back to your home state and look your citizens in the eye and say, I stole your team from you? Because that's exactly what this was, stole the team. I mean.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And he's got buddies, right? He's from Missouri. Like it's that part's got to be really, really awkward for him. I suppose, but I mean, he made a decision and he went for the money, and hey, money is a very, very valued thing in our society, and he's doing a good job at accumulating it.
Sure. I mean, and unfortunately, money doesn't always equate honor, and that's, you can make money, you can't always make honor though, and unfortunately, I know this is going to cost him a lot of money. I will tell you that much. This lawsuit, I believe the city of St. Louis is looking for up to $2 billion in retribution for what happened with the shadiness of the move that supposedly had been in the works as far back as 2013. So, I mean, yeah, you're going to make your money out too. And it's, again, be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you, when the Rams were in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl, there were a lot of people in St. Louis rooting against them. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Well, ain't that weird though? It's funny because those two Super Bowls, the last two Super Bowls that the Rams franchise played in, were both against New England.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis fans could not have hated New England more and loved them more at the same time. They hated them in 2004, which you remember the Spygate. They could not have hated them anymore in 2003, because I honestly think the Rams win that Super Bowl again. I think if they win that game, they're a dynasty. You're not moving that team. There's no way in hell the NFL is letting that team move. And we're singing a different ball game. But in 2019, I don't think there was a person west of Cape Girardeau that wasn't rooting for New England. I think they were the only people not in the New England area that weren't rooting for the Patriots, that were rooting for the Patriots.
That's very well said, man. Very well said.
But Jordan, you're in San Diego. I mean, you've been down there a couple of years now. You know what it's like to see, even though you're a Saints fan. I mean, this thing of seeing your city lose a team, I mean, there's something to be said about that, right?
I believe Jordan's away from his computer right now.
Oh no,
there he is. Okay.
I fat fingered the mute button, so that was on me. But the thing about the San Diego Chargers, which unfortunately for them, and I wish the team was still here. I wish the stadium was still here. You drive past it, it's completely gone now. But I got to go to one game, and the Saints were in town, and I tell you what, it was probably like 80% Saints fans, 20% Chargers fans. So but that was obviously not the case when it comes to the Rams in St. Louis.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, but you're right. Once a team starts doing poorly, and it was mentioned earlier on the show, it's like, it's not the fans' fault, but then they're the ones that get the finger pointed at them. They're like, for not spending their hard-earned money on a franchise that's losing.
Oh, I live in Philadelphia. I can relate to that very much.
I was waiting for you to say it. I wasn't going to.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Kings, the Roundtable. That was Benjamin Hochman talking about the St. Louis Rams, their movement and departure to the city of Los Angeles, and the
native St. Louis reaction, or the residents of St. Louis and their reaction. He's a beat writer for the Cardinals and the St. Louis Blues. You can purchase his new book, 11-11, A Hometown Hero, LaRusso's Last Ride in Red, and the Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals at redgold.net. And if you love the Kings of the Roundtable, if you head over to the website and purchase it through that link, I know that JP, Ph.D, and Jordan will really appreciate it because that'll help support the show and the station, RGTR Red Bull Talk Radio. When we come back, we have one more interview for you, and that is a former Miami Dolphins and Cincinnati Bengals offensive lineman Richmond Webb on the special draft edition of the Kings of the Roundtable that they did back on draft day. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Richmond Webb will be on Kings of the Roundtable here on RGTR Red Gold Talk Radio and the Red Gold Network on YouTube. We'll be right back.
You're listening to RGTR Red Gold Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Roundtable? We'll help support JP, HG, and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11-11, A Hometown Hero, LaRusso's Last Ride in Red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11-11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11-11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
Two great shows have been announced for the Arizona Wrestling Federation in May. May 8th, AWF Nova, and May 29th, the Wildcat Rumble is back. Both in Phoenix, Arizona. Get your tickets at ArizonaWrestlingFederation.com.
Hey guys, it's Big HD, the Hardcore Degenerate, inviting you to check out Kings of the Roundtable every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on RGTR Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Art Dog here with your homeboy MJ Gunner.
What's going on, everybody?
And we want you to join us every Tuesday live for the Sons of Legends podcast at 10 p.m. where we talk about wrestling, sports, entertainment, and everything else. It's a show for the fans, by the fans.
That's right, Art. You know how it gets whenever we get in to talk about our wrestling. It gets completely insane.
And every Tuesday, we'll be all the way live, 10 p.m. Join us for the Sons of Legends podcast on RGTR.
Hey folks, I'm Bradley C. Baker.
And I'm Jim Caterly.
And we're from Broken Link Radio. We'd like to ask you to take a second of your day to join our Patreon at brokenlinkradio1word.com. You see, due to Jim's excessive shoe habit
and Burhead's compulsive habit of buying used books,
we need a little help keeping up with our operational fees. With packages starting as low as $3.99 a month, you can become the ultimate scumbag and help keep food on our tables during these trying times.
Dude, what's this? We're not starving.
I know, Jim, but listen, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's like you're making us into a Sarah McLachlan commercial or something.
I know. I'm just reading what was written, Jim.
Why don't we just tell them if they like what they hear to support the show?
Yeah, well, I think we're out of time now, and the studio only paid for one take, so whatever. Catch new episodes every Monday and help support the show on our Patreon at brokenlinkradio1word.com, patreon.com/brokenlinkradio.
Do it! I still hate that URL.
Broken Link Radio.
We're living in unprecedented time. At a time of a pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since 1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC-insured bank.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Go Talk Radio.
Do you love Kings of the Round Table? We'll help support Ph.D. and Jordan Cruz by picking up your copy of 11 and 11, a hometown hero, LaRussa's last ride in red, and a Miracle World Series for the St. Louis Cardinals. Written by Benjamin Hochman with a foreword by Chris Carpenter and closing remarks by Jason Mott. 11 and 11 is a thoroughly reported chronicle of an unparalleled season packed with interviews with key players, team executive broadcasters, and more. This is the definitive account of a championship run no Cardinals fan will ever forget. To pick up your copy of 11 and 11, visit redgold.net and purchase through our Amazon link to support this show and this station.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Go Talk Radio.
Alrighty, fans of the Roundtable, we are back. We have one last little extra for you. I hope you've enjoyed this best of the Kings of the Roundtable while JP, Jordan, and HC are on a little pseudo vacation here this week. If you, of course, want to listen to any of the interviews that you've heard in their entirety, you can do so by going to redgold.net, clicking on our SoundCloud link. There you can find the full archive for RGTR, Red Gold Talk Radio, as well as all of the other shows, such as Sons of Legends, Broken Link Radio, Heathen Sunday School, at Pro Wrestling AZ Weekly, amongst others, and of course, all the episodes of Kings of the Roundtable you can listen to there, and go ahead and give us a subscribe on the YouTube. We'd greatly appreciate it. All of that same archive will be slowly updated. Well, hopefully not too slowly, but slowly but surely updated here to the Red Bull Network on YouTube. So for you guys, we have just one more little interview snippet here tonight. We're going to go ahead and listen as Richmond Webb, former offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins and spent some time in Cincinnati with the Bengals as well. Former NFL offensive lineman Richmond Webb joins JP and Jordan at the Roundtable. We hope you've enjoyed this presentation of the best of the Kings of the Roundtable. The gents will, of course, be back next week live as normal at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can listen to more hijinks of the Kings of the Roundtable. But for now, here is JP and Jordan interviewing Richmond Webb on the Kings of the Roundtable. We hope you have a good night. Subscribe to our YouTube, and we'll be back next week. Enjoy the interview.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. And again, stick around for the interview with Richmond. We promise you'll enjoy it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here live on Kings of the Roundtable here on RGTR Radio. I am JP, joined as always by my BFF, my tag team partner, the man of the hour, the man too sweet to be sour, Mr. Jordan Cruz. Jordan, it's been a good show so far, but man, the best is yet to come, my brother.
Yeah, man. Excited for all the topics, excited for all the guests we got going on today and in the weeks to come. Let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely, and I'm stoked for what we got coming up here next. As a matter of fact, I've been amped for this for a couple of weeks now, ever since he said yes, because everybody on here knows I'm a diehard Miami Dolphins fan, 35 years and going strong. And as a young man, this gentleman was one of my favorite players as a kid. He was the blindside protector for Dan Marino. He was the 9th overall pick in the 1990 NFL draft. I'd like to think I was born in 2000, but not quite. He was in the 1990 NFL draft. It was in a star-studded draft class, and wound up going on to have a stellar NFL career, 7-time Pro Bowls, 4-time All-Pros, was a member of the Miami Dolphins honor roll, the only offensive tackle on that list, and he was on the 1990 All-Decade team. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor at this time to introduce our next guest, Mr. Richmond Webb. Mr. Webb, I really, really appreciate you coming on here, sir. I can't even begin to tell you how privileged I am. I mean, I normally don't make flubs about dates, but I'm literally that excited to have you on.
JP Jordan, how you doing? You know, I was listening to your intro and you dropped that old rap line about my man Jordan saying too sweet to be sour. So you took me back in the day. So I appreciate it. How you guys doing today?
Well, you know, we're pretty stoked about this interview, and too sweet to be sour. Were you a wrestling fan? Because that was a Billy Graham line as well.
Well, I've heard it in a rap song too. So yeah,
gotcha.
It's an old line. We can both agree it's an old line, but yeah, I've heard that before.
I'm a rap too. I mean, I'm a little bit of an old school rap fan myself.
Old Houdini song I heard that. Yes, Houdini, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, first things first, though, let's, you've been pretty busy. Now, first off, I just want to say to anybody listening to this that's of power, this man is so long overdue for the NFL Hall of Fame. It's not even funny. I mean, you're talking one of the best offensive tackles in an era that had, just twice a year he had to block Bruce Smith, for God's sakes. And that's not counting the other studs he had to block every week. So NFL Hall of Fame committee, get this man in. He's overdue. But since your NFL career has gone down, Richmond, we'll start from the background. What have you been doing with yourself since then?
Well, of course, I'm retired, but currently right now, I mainly do real estate, stuff like that. So I got some rental property, not too much commercial property, but in real estate a little bit. And then, with COVID last year, I had an opportunity to start a little podcast with two gentlemen, and we just moved over to dolphinshouse.com, so you can find our podcast on there. But we can talk about that later. But other than that, and honeydew list from the wife, that's about it. I'm just chilling.
Hey, but man, by the looks of things on your your live video at Zoom with us, I bet you could get out there right now and then throw some of these young kids aside. I mean, I don't know if J.J. Watt would have a finger to touch on you, man. You look like you could still throw some of these cats around.
Well, the key word, and I learned that in English, is adjectives. That basically describes. You said that right. Look like. That's about it. Look like. But no, these guys are too young, fast. The mental part of it, I still have that part of it physically. Father time kind of takes over, and I've had my good run in the sun, so I'm just a fan now, and I watch, but I appreciate it. But nah, I'm done with that. My body lets me know already, so I'm good. But I appreciate it.
Okay. Let's take you back though, back to the high school years here a little bit. You played at FDR in Dallas, or Dallas Roosevelt, as it's affectionately called, the Mustangs. And we've heard all the stories. I mean, obviously, Friday Night Lights brought it to the forefront about how rabid football and high school football is in the state of Texas. From a player's perspective, what was it like for you playing under those lights and under that pressure, which is really unlike anything really we see?
Well, that's what, basically the state of Texas back then was known for, football. You looked at some of the best football played. Normally you would hear Texas in that mention, along with possibly state of Florida. A lot of times you hear state of Ohio, California, certain areas, but just in the South general, football has definitely probably been the main dominant sport. And, just coming up and growing up in Dallas, this and that, and right there with the Dallas Cowboys, grew up a Cowboy fan, this and that. And that's what it was about, watching that on Sundays and this and that, and trying to emulate those players that were in the NFL, this and that. And then you just grow up in it as a kid, playing in the park and stuff. And then I started playing organized football in 7th grade, and it just kind of took off from there. But, football is very big in Texas, and, you can look at some of the stadiums they're building now. It looks like a little small college or university. So it's definitely here to stay in the state of Texas. So it was great for me. I look forward to it. And, it was the arch rivals, growing up with kids across town, and then, they may end up going to college with you or whatever, but it was great. So that's one thing I do love about the state of Texas is the way, having a chance to experience that in my high school years.
Absolutely. And you stayed in Texas in the college years. I was recruited and wound up going to play college ball under Jackie Sherrill at Texas A&M. What about A&M drew you to there? And what are the schools really put the full court press in terms of recruiting you? Legally, I should say. I don't want to get anybody in any trouble here.
No. You won't. No. Coming out, I basically looked at everybody in the state of Texas, and I got recruited all over the country, but I really didn't want to go too far away from home. So back then it was a Southwest Conference, and I did visit the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, but I visited SMU, A&M, Baylor, and Texas, along with the 2 Oklahoma schools. And Barry Swiss was there. And I almost considered going to Oklahoma, but, at the end, it just seemed like A&M was a better fit for me, and I think that was the right decision for me. And ended up signing. Coach Sherrill was the head coach, and then R.C. Slocum was my recruiting coach. He recruited the Dallas area, and after Jack Sherrill left, he took over and had a great run there. So it was just a good thing. I think it was the best decision for me, but in the end, the Aggies won out.
Absolutely. And you mentioned another coach, R.C. Slocum. I mean, I think those two, Jackie and R.C., were two of the more underrated coaches that don't get enough credit in terms of how great they were in the college ranks. What about each of them made them special, and how do you think they played a significant role in developing you into the player you became?
Yeah, when I went to college, in high school, I played both ways, but I was recruited as a defensive lineman, and I think it was Coach Sherrill that made the decision to move me over to offense. And wasn't very happy about it at first, but, sometimes coaches can see, I guess, things that you can't. And, I wasn't happy about it at first, but went over and, busted my tail and actually started playing. And I think that's what really lit that fire up under me. I didn't want to just keep watching games. I wanted to actually get in there and play. So I got an opportunity to play. And then working with Coach Avazano, Joe Avazano, rest his soul, but he was one of my offensive line coaches in college and really helped with a lot of development of me becoming the player that I am. And, Coach Sherrill and Coach Slocum definitely did. After I got drafted, and Coach Sherrill had left, but he had Coach Dan Marino at Pittsburgh. And when he found out I was going to Miami, he said, "You make sure you take care of Danny." So, we kind of had that connection there when I got to Miami. I played a couple other guys, and then I started looking at some of the players he had at University of Pittsburgh when Marino was there, and I was like, they possibly could have won a national championship there. So he's just a great coach, great recruiter, knew how to evaluate talent and put players in the best position possible to be successful. So, a tremendous amount to Coach Sherrill.
Absolutely. Now, Jordan, you actually had a question about Texas A&M, correct?
Yes, I did. Hello, Mr. Webb. So Texas A&M last year, they looked pretty good. I thought, maybe a little inconsistent at times. What is your outlook, and what do you think is the expectations for them going in this next football season?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a seesaw. When we went out a few years ago or whatever and signed Jimbo Fisher from Florida State, and everybody talked about the type of contract he got, this and that. A lot of people was questioning, but I thought he was a great hire for us. And the thing that immediately I took notice was he changed the culture and got guys buying into his system. And then the thing that really I've seen that he's really done and been successful at is recruiting. And you got to finish in the top 6 or 7, I believe, every year to have an opportunity to have a chance at the college football playoffs. And, we barely missed it. We ended up being number 5 last year, but we almost got in. But, when you look at this, we play Alabama, LSU. Those are in the SEC West area. So you got to go out and recruit the same type of talent that they have in order to have a chance to possibly win. So I think the turning point for A&M last year was when we played Florida and actually beat a number 5 team, which I think that gave the guys confidence that, they belong now and this and that. So with that happening and they fighting through that and finishing up the season the way that they did with a bowl game win against North Carolina, I think this year they should start. I know we got a new quarterback, but once he gets settled in, I think we should guys should have an eye on Texas A&M and have high expectations, which I do. I mean, we still got to go. The road through the SEC goes through Alabama. Nobody's not even, denying that or whatever. You still got the tough teams, but I think now we're getting to that level to where we're getting the same type players to where you legitimately have a chance to compete and possibly win the big games like that. And I think that's where you elevate and make that next step and hopefully become like an Ohio State, a Clemson, the University of Georgia, where these are the names of the schools that you continually hear that's going into the college football playoff. So I think we're about to make that step now.
Absolutely. And I certainly agree with you there. I wanted to talk about the college football playoff, actually. As you mentioned, you guys were just on the outside looking in this past year. What's your opinion on the potential expansion, maybe going to 6, 8, or even, further on, adding more teams to that playoff?
I hear people talk about it, and now, I look at it. Most college kids, especially if you're in one of the top tier programs, you're probably going to play somewhere between at least close to 15 games. And I think that's a lot. I look at, the wear and tear on your body with a season that long, you're going through that, practicing and this and that. So right now, I'm not saying add anymore because, some people say add more, but unless they're going to eliminate a couple of games or something to balance it out, I think 15 is enough. If you can't make a decision in 15 games, then maybe some of the earlier games, just maybe non-conference or something, you maybe eliminate, but definitely not for adding additional games to try to prove who's the national championship. I think it's always going to be a question if you add 6. It's always going to be somebody that's left out to say they were deserving. And I think you can make that argument, but at the end of the day, it's only going to be 4, it's only going to be 6, it's only going to be 8, and you can't just continue to keep expanding it. I think it will eventually get expanded, but I'm not for expanding it right now. I'm good with 4. I'll just do my argument and say, well, hey, you just got to do a little bit better to get in there. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. And while the system is to some degree has its warts, let's be honest, Richmond, when you played and back in our heyday, it was the championship was determined off of one game. And oftentimes we didn't see the great national title games. We saw mismatches that looked like mismatches on paper and often played out that way.
Right. And you're right. When you can assemble, even if a team gets left out or not, you can almost pretty much agree that the cream has risen to the top. And every now and then, even in the top 4, where it might be a blowout in one game or whatever, and then the next game kind of settles out. But it's hard, trying to prepare, and then, you play a game, and then you got a week or 2, and then you go back and you play another game, all for the marbles. That's a lot. So if you continue to add to that, man, that could be, I'm sure the coaches and stuff not getting sleep trying to come up with game plans and how to counter this and that. It's a lot of work. So like I said, I'm good with 4, but I think people are going to eventually keep pushing. And if enough people keep screaming and hollering, they'll probably get 6 or whatever. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm good with 4.
We're talking to Richmond Webb here on Kings of the Roundtable, RGTR Radio. Richmond, moving on to the NFL, 1990 NFL draft, one of the last 12-round drafts that there was, picked 9th overall by the Miami Dolphins. And we mentioned great coaches you had in college. A little bit biased here, I got to admit, as a Dolphin fan, but I don't think there was a greater one that ever coached a game than the late, great Don Shula. What was going through your mind when you were picked by Miami and picked by Shula and got to go block for, again, a quarterback I think was the greatest to ever play the game, Dan Marino?
Oh, no question. I can remember, the day of the draft. I think I got a call from my line coach, John Sandusky from Miami. I think I actually got a call from the Raiders. And I believe I actually, if I'm not mistaken, it possibly was the Saints. But they picked after both of those teams picked right after the Dolphins or a few picks down. And, they made the call and they said, well, hey, if you're available, we're going to take you, but we think you're going to be off the board before that. So when Miami selected me, I mean, even though, you're possibly going to be a top draft pick, it's still nerve-wracking until you actually get that final call. And I can remember getting that call from Coach Shula, and I think I got it right when they were doing the 8th pick, which was Chris Singleton. He went to New England, and he said, are you ready to be a Dolphin? I said, yes, sir. So, I was smiling. I could breathe. I could relax because I knew I was getting picked. And then I remember later on that day, I went down to an NBC station in Dallas, which was an affiliate with one in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. And they asked me a question. They said, "What do you think of Coach Shula?" And, you know, I had seen him on TV, and, you know, he always looked like he had the shades on. He had a little tan and stuff. And I messed around and said, "Oh, he seemed like he's pretty cool. He got a tan and he wears shades." And my line coach, John Sandusky, said, "Boy, is he in for a shock." So after I made that statement, I found out about the 12-minute run and this and that. I was like, man, this dude ain't no joke. And I learned to keep my mouth shut and not be so quick to speak once I did that. But man, Coach Shula was probably the greatest to do it. One of the smartest, you know, as far as preparing his players and stuff, game in and game out, and teaching you how to be a man, not just on the field, but off the field. So I learned a lot of stuff from Coach Shula that's instilled in me that I still practice today. So it was definitely good, but he gave me tools and stuff I can use that even when football was over with, I'm still using today. So I'm definitely indebted to him, and I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to be coached by a man of his stature.
Absolutely. And Richmond, we do got to take a quick break, but when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue this outstanding interview with one of the greatest offensive tackles ever to play the game, Miami Dolphin All-Pro, an overall good guy, Richmond Webb. You're listening to Kings of the Roundtable here on RGTR Radio.
You're listening to RGTR, Red Go Talk Radio.
Two great shows have been announced for the Arizona Wrestling Federation in May. May 8th, AWF Nova, and May 29th, the Wildcat Rumble is back. Both in Phoenix, Arizona. Get your tickets at ArizonaWrestlingFederation.com.
Hey guys, it's Big H.D, the Hardcore Degenerate, inviting you to check out Kings of the Roundtable every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on RGTR Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's the boy Art Dog here with the homeboy here.